What's up, guys? This is the Honest Outlaw here, and today I wanted to do a kind of a quick impromptu video. There's been a lot of talk about the Gen 5 Glock coming out lately. Some of it had to do with the Army trials that just took place where the Sig P320 won out. Some of that was due to the fact that Glock didn't meet the regulations of the test and stuff like that. But regardless, you know, they did some modifications, and people are considering either that or, you know, there was another model that was supposedly made for the FBI that people considered the Gen 5 Glock. And, you know, it's been a couple of years since the Gen 4 came out, and I assume pretty soon here they're either going to start designing one or, you know, they're going to come out with one in the next couple of years. So I wanted to talk about some of the things that I really think they need to fix. Not that they should fix, but things that they actually need to fix. Glock has been on top of the polymer frame pistol market, basically the pistol market in general now, for a while. You know, 10 years or so at least, I can think that Glocks have been extremely popular. Glocks go all the way back to, I remember seeing them in Die Hard 2, you know, in the 80s or early 90s or whenever that movie was. You know, they came out in the 80s, but they got really popular, at least in the last 10 or 15 years or so. And they've been, like I said, the king of the pile, you know. But guns have been catching up lately. Like the M&P, you know, we've talked about the M&P being maybe even a slightly better gun for the past couple of years. And then other guns started to come out and other guns started to come out. And now Glock seems a bit elderly, honestly. You know, with guns like the Sig 320, you know, it's kind of a wake-up call for a lot of people. Not really for us gun guys, because if you've shot a bunch next to each other, if you take an out-of-the-box stock Glock, right, it's got some real deficiencies that we need to talk about compared to pistols like the PPQ or the VP9 or the CZ P10 that's coming out soon. A lot of these pistols have refined the design that I think they originally took, at least some design cues from Glock. You know, with the polymer frame pistol, the takedown, the way they take down, maybe Glock didn't invent some of these, but they did make them extremely popular. And for good reason. Glock's a great gun, but I think there's a couple things, as I said, that I think they can fix. And I'm going to name 5 of those things I think they should fix today. First thing I think that would be an easy fix and a relatively cheap fix would be the sights. First off, the sights that come on a Glock, as you can see here, are this front, white front here with the U rear. Right? Which isn't a terrible idea. It's meant for a quick sight picture and things of that nature. The first complaint that I have about the sights is that they're plastic. I've never actually broke them because they're not on my gun long enough for me to break them. I've replaced them on every other pistol that you see on the table. But the problem with them, the biggest problem I see, besides the fact they're plastic and they're relatively cheap, is that they're kind of hard to see quickly, even though that's kind of what they're meant for, because both sights are the same color. I like to have two blacked out rear, orange front, green front, whatever. And I think a lot of people are going to that today. Also, the fact that it has a tendency to make you aim a little bit off from what you intended to, because you actually have to splice that dot in half, you know, equal height, equal light. That's what you want in all of your sight pictures, but the dot and the U is just a little bit confusing because, like I said, you have to split that in half to get the correct sight picture. So that's kind of an issue that I wanted to talk about. I think they can fix that relatively easily. Put on some cheap night sights like CZ or Sig does, or something like that. Another thing I want to discuss is the trigger. The trigger it's all right. I would say it's better than the M&P. It's better than a couple of other pistols, but I think gun with a reputation like Glock has, I think you should still have a better trigger. And there are guns that come out now. The VP9 is one. The PPQ is another that has a better trigger. The CZ P10 is coming out. The Sig P320. All those have excellent triggers. I mean, for a striker-fired gun, they have excellent triggers. So I think that Glock really needs to come out and match that. And I don't know if they have to come out with an entirely different trigger system. Either way, I think the trigger needs to be fixed. You can fix a Glock trigger for like $7 with a 3.5 pound trigger connector. And I know the old way of doing things was a heavy trigger, you know, so in case you're holding the gun on somebody and you don't accidentally discharge the firearm and stuff. But I think all that, honestly, I think it's kind of hoo-ha. I mean, all that has to do with trigger discipline, and I know under stress and everything like that, yada, yada, yada. I'd still prefer to be able to make a precise shot with a better trigger if I had to, rather than purposefully handicap myself because I'm not capable of operating the firearm correctly. So I think that a lighter trigger, or at least a little crisper trigger, would be in order as well. The third thing, it's not a complaint for me, but it's a complaint for a lot of people, and I understand because everybody's got different hand sizes, would be the finger grooves. That was one thing the FBI requested removed, I believe. And you know, like I said, I agree with that. I don't care whether they're on there or not personally, because I have big enough hands to where my hands, you know, they kind of fit. If not, I put sandpaper grips on them and stuff. It doesn't bother me, like I said. But I think with that and maybe a little more ergonomics on the grip itself, you know, because if you look at something like the Walther PPQ, which I'll roll some footage of and stuff like that, it just has a more ergonomic grip. And most pistols do. I can't think of a pistol offhand that doesn't have a more ergonomic grip than the Glock, honestly. And like I said, it was great for the early 80s, 90s, early 2000s and stuff, but now there's pistols that really exceed it in a lot of these categories, and the grip is one of those. Another easy fix, I think, would be the accessory rail. Most pistols that you get on today's market are going to come with a Picatinny rail. I got a 1911 here to show you real quick, but they're going to come with a standard Picatinny rail. And that's, again, not a huge problem, but if you have a gun like this, for example, that only takes the accessory rail, and then you've got 6 other guns that have Picatinny rails, just why would you? Why would I have to switch my Surefire mount and just mess with it at all, when you could just simply put a Picatinny rail on there? There's no reason not to. There's guns that come out that have that are lower in price point than the Glock, so I don't see a reason why they couldn't do that either. And before I give you number 5, I'm going to give you some quick honorable mentions. I think the trigger guard could be a little bit more ergonomic like some of the other pistols. I think they could put a better finish on their slides, because a lot of people complain about rusting, especially around the rear sight area and things of that nature. I think there could be more texture on the grips as well. I think the perfect texture for a Glock that I can see is this RTF2 texture on the Gen 3. I really like that. It's similar to the Gen 4, but it's definitely more abrasive, and you definitely get a better purchase on the gun, so I really like that. But I think the fifth thing that I want to talk about, and I think probably is going to be the way that most polymer pistols go in the future, is going to be a chassis system, instead of the frame being the lower of the firearm, being the actual serial part of the firearm, the part with the serial number on it. But I think the chassis system is going to be the way of the future as far as firearms go. With a Sig 320, a subscriber mentioned in one of my videos that if you were to, you know, run and jump for cover now that the Sig 320 is going to be the military's firearm, and you break your frame on your Glock, let's say. Unlikely, but it could happen, right? Instead of paying $250 or $300 and sending this to an FFL, you could simply go to Sig's website, buy one, and get it in the mail the next day for like $50 or however much they are. It's a lot cheaper, it's a lot easier of a process, and you know, that makes also your pistol not just breaking it, but it makes it more modular. So if you wanted to turn a Glock 17 into a Glock 19 or whatever you wanted to do, whatever combination of slide and lower accessory that you want, you could do that like you could the Sig 320. I think that if Glock were to institute these changes and kind of move with the times, and also keep it as reliable and durable and simplistic as possible, you know, what they're famous for, I really think they could overcome the competition once again. Their name is big, they have a great reputation, they're used all around the world. I just feel like they're fading a little bit out of relevance with all these new pistols like the PPQ and the CZ coming out. I really think they're going to outmatch the Glock. Especially in price. You know, a lot of things that I talked about now, you can do to the Glock. Like if you see this pistol here, this has some serious upgrades. This trigger can hang with the PPQ. The texture is upgraded. It's got an RMR on it. You know, it comes with the RMR cut. But this pistol is also extremely expensive. I mean, you can get similar quality products like the PPQ Match, for example, for around $700 right from the factory. And I think I paid, it's well over $1,000 for a pistol like this. To get a Glock to as good as it should be for the Gen 5, it's going to cost you a lot of money. So I don't think Glock should make you do that. I think they should do a lot of these upgrades from the factory, get a nice, great factory gun, even for a little bit more money. You gotta charge $50, $75. I don't care. I just think it's getting outclassed by the new generation of pistols, especially pistols that are going to be coming out this year. So if you like the video, please like and subscribe. If you disagree with me or agree with me, I like good comments too. Please leave a comment below. Please help out your local homeless shelters and remember to recycle. Check you later. "60 yards.